Okay, so here we are with the finished, actually not finished, the unfinished piece of improv that is ready to be cut for the Scrappy Mini. Okay, so this is going to be the sister piece for this one. So these will be a pair. What I did here is, this is kind of what happens often with these scrap pieces, and this is what you need to be prepared for and just understand and be able to be okay with, is that since there isn't a pattern for this, you're not measuring anything exactly, you can't really predict. I mean, you could, I guess, if you were that type of sewer, but the idea of improv is that you just kind of go with it, and for me anyway, that's the idea of it, and then you see what comes out the other side. It's this creative process where you're just putting things together that you like, and you see where it all lands. Oftentimes what will happen is that it doesn't land perfectly. So you see here I'm in a little bit of a funny position because I need to trim this, and I want to trim it at 9.5 inches, which is the size that my square is. That's what I make these because they finish at 9 inches. So I need to figure out where to place this in order to get the best cut, the best square. And what I want to see generally is on either side, on both sides of the long sides, I want enough seam allowance to where because I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch seam allowance to sew this, I need to have a 1/2 inch, or preferably more than a 1/2 inch on either side, so that some of the fabric shows through. It doesn't always happen that way, and that is not the end of the world. You can see that I did that here. It kind of tapered off because I just didn't have a full 9.5, or a full whatever I needed, over 1/2 inch. It happened here as well. Okay, you hardly notice it. It's just, it happened here. So it happens. I try to avoid it if I can, but it just, the placement of the strips just doesn't always work out, unless you're the type of person that's maybe going to go and measure every single one and know ahead of time, which for my framework quilt, for example, I did do that, and I give some more simple measurements so that doesn't happen. But for this, we're not doing that. So I'm just going to do my best to get as much seam allowance on either side as I can. So therefore I need to place my square, you know, I'm going to say about right there. That's going to cut off some of my sides, and I have to be prepared for that. Like, this seam will end up in a weird place, and that's okay. And this one will too, actually. But what that does is, to me, it just kind of adds to the overall just handmade, scrappy kind of vibe of the quilt, so, or the piece. So I don't mind that for some people that might be a deal breaker. I don't know. And then there's the top and the bottom section that you want to be aware of as well. So you see here, you can bring it down, but then I'm going to end up right at that seam. So I'm going to bring it to the very edge of my shortest piece here. And I'm going to cut off a tiny bit when I go to sew. I'm going to cut off some of this as well. And that's okay. Every single piece doesn't end up showing in here, and it's perfectly fine. It just all comes together. I've never had a single issue where I haven't been able to put the mini together because the seams were not perfectly in place. So I wouldn't stress out about it too much. Pretty much you're just, you're trying to get that extra bit so that doesn't happen, but it's really not a deal breaker. Okay, so all of your pieces, if you've been watching my videos recently, you'll notice that I don't like to change my rotary blade. I very much need to do that, but okay, so here is our finished improv block. Okay, and now you can see there's a pair and there is some kind of cohesiveness to this. And they, you know, they have similar fabrics. They go together as a pair. I pulled all of these from the same scrap pile, and you know, they're very different. I see that. This one has a lot more piecing in it. This one has a lot less, but some of the fabrics definitely repeat. Some of them don't. They both have a different personality, I would say. But they're a pair, and I can finish these up now with my backing and basically follow the rest of the tutorial that is laid out for you guys. And this is the main piece of it. Once you get this done, you just follow the tutorial, and you're ready to go, and just put it all together, and you've got a nice little gift. So enjoy.